I'm Mark Seifster,
And I'm Linda Zayas Palmer.
and this is Arcane Mark. Welcome, everyone, to Arcane Mark Ask Katina Davis, the web store
Hello.
coordinator extraordinaire. There she is down in the bottom right.
Hi.
Sitting
I'm
in front of a
Agrarian.
very appropriate map.
It's true.
Look at Katina with all the props
Yeah,
all
that's
set up.
right. Welcome
I
to
know.
welcome
It's
to the
all
show, Katina.
laminated. It's nice.
Do you just have all sorts of maps and other stuff back there?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, we've got the list of monsters to kill over here. On that wall is the Gloomhaven map.
Okay.
Got Roderick's Cove over here and a dragon. Lots of dragons. I wonder why. But and Legos and board games. I'm in our gaming room basically because uh, upstairs is my office and the lighting's not as great and whatever. So
Makes sense. But where
yeah.
do you keep the all-seeing eye of Nethys?
Well, right now the all-seeing eye of Nethys is upstairs working on a certain website for second edition. So he is currently typing away trying to get everything all set up for the launch, which is so soon.
It's so soon.
It's really soon.
It's
Ah.
so soon that it already sort of happened to a bunch of people.
Yeah, yeah. I yeah, been seeing pictures. Someone posted actually in Blake's Discord like friend group to be like, "Look, I got my books." And I was like, "I'm jealous. I don't have one yet." So, but I got a copy today because of Oblivion Oath. So, yay.
Yay!
Woohoo! All
But
right,
yeah.
very very cool.
Yeah.
All right, it looks like people already have a few questions in the
Okay.
chat, and we'll ask them later because we always ask the same questions first. So,
Okay.
how did you get into playing Pathfinder?
Um I mean the short answer is Blake. I had never played any role-playing games at all until I was I think 23. Uh, yeah. We started dating and I think it was only like a month or two after we started dating he was like, "Hey, do you want to come to this convention called PaizoCon? It's at this small hotel in Bellevue." And I was like, "Sure, okay, whatever." And I had no idea what was going on at all the whole time. And it wasn't there. Like I just kind of looked around there, and he bought me a little Rat Thulu doll, like stuffed plushie. And
Mm-hmm.
then later he had some friends over, and we played Crypt of the Everflame. So that was my very first introduction to not only Pathfinder but just role playing games in general.
Oh
So
wow!
yeah. So and I mean that
Yeah.
was, let me think. That
Did,
was,
did the shadow kill anyone?
I don't honestly remember. I It's been so long because I think that was 2011 ish. But yeah, I think the only thing I remember was like someone's horse was falling down a hill and we were trying to figure out how to get it back up with like ropes and stuff. And I was like, "What is this game?" Like we're we're trying to figure out like the math of how to do this. Like I and most of the time like I had my character sheet, but I didn't know, you know, what's a check? Like, what am I doing? What number am I looking at on this page? So it was very confusing. But I remember that horse because I was like, yeah, this game is very creative because whatever is happening, you figure out how to make it happen. So
Right.
it just kind of, it just kind of escalated from there. I ended up playing. The only campaign I've ever finished still is Jade Regent. But I've played a big chunk of Carrion Crown and Curse of the Crimson Throne, and that's, I still feel kind of like a noob because that's the bulk of my gaming.
Hey, you know what? Some people in our chat are saying late blooming role players can often be the best role players of all.
Oh, yay! Well, that's good. I
So,
mean, clearly it's become my entire life basically now because I work at Paizo and then I come home and
right?
like do freelance. So I'm just like, oh wow, yeah, all my day is a lot about RPGs now.
Speaking of working at Paizo,
so what was your path to Paizo like? What were you doing before? How did you decide to apply for the job of Paizo? Things like that.
So when I applied at Paizo, or applied to Paizo, I was working at Nintendo at the time. So, like before that, I worked at a spa in Redmond, like as a, you know, basically set like desk person making appointments and stuff like that. But then I was at Nintendo doing game testing, French game testing, and I liked it there, but you know, it was kind of it's contract work, and so there are parts of it that are not as great. And Blake said, "Oh, hey, my friend Sarah Marie posted this job opening on Facebook. Do you think you'd want to work at Paizo?" Like, cause, and I was like, "Who are they again? They make that game." um, no, I wasn't that bad by that point. But yeah, no, so Blake and Sarah Marie actually knew each other before I met Blake. They used to be housemates. They shared a house with some of their other friends. So he saw her posting, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So and I interviewed, and initially I didn't get the job. Sharia got the job because there was one opening at the time. But it ended up that later there was another opening. So Sarah kind of called me back. She was like, "Hey, we knew we wanted to hire you, but the timing wasn't quite right. So like, want a job now?" I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." So that was like 5 years ago now, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's around the same time as me.
Yeah, it's weird too because I still get, mixed up about when people started, and there are some people I didn't even know started like right before me. I just assume anyone who's been here has been here forever. So
Right?
Yeah.
then, like later on they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we started around the same time." I'm like, "Well, you were before me, so to me, you were just always there."
Yeah,
So,
it's there's a lot of different paths to Paizo, and I think other than the old guard who were like, well, Dragon and Dungeon Paizo, like
yeah.
of everyone else, Nintendo maybe the plurality path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. I had no idea
There's like
that
total of 4 Nintendo people, I think, or more, and there's
At least
no
more, yeah.
other one place that there are that give us 4 people.
it's more because so apparently I didn't know them at the time, and now looking back, I'm sad I didn't know them. But I worked there the same time as Lou, Joe, and Adrian.
Yeah,
And
those are
then
the other 3 that gave me 4, but there could be more.
well, Sonia used to work there too.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about
Yeah.
Sonia. Yeah, so
I
there
think
we
that
go.
was before I was there because she made it sound like it was like a long time ago, but she definitely worked there, and I think there was one other person she mentioned, but I can't remember
Okay,
now who it was.
so there you go. If you
Yeah.
want a job at Paizo, the most
Work
likely
at
path
Nintendo
is to
first.
be working at Nintendo.
Yeah.
You can use Nintendo as a stepping stone.
Seriously. It's weird kind of because I feel like before I worked there, it was like, whoa, Nintendo, like that's so crazy. Like you only work there if you're like super fancy game person. And it's like, well, no, they have a call center. Like they have people that test the games all day. So like, yeah, it is actually kind of a stepping stone, I think, for a lot of people, depending on where you're working, because it's like, yeah, I mean, you don't have to be. I mean, I'm not saying it's not work, but there are positions there that aren't like the glamorous Nintendo that you think it is, because that's really only if you work in the treehouse,
Oh,
as far
sure.
as I know. So,
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
yeah. But I mean, employee discounts, and their cafeteria is really awesome. That's the
Right.
one thing that I miss about being there is I'd be like, oh man, I'm hungry and I didn't bring lunch. Oh, I'm gonna go because they have like 13 different types of cuisine and like basically a convenience store. Anyway, sorry, I'm just rambling about Nintendo
Our
now.
cafeteria is a kitchen that has some tea and some ibuprofen in it, guys.
Yeah, you can make yourself ibuprofen tea if you want.
I mean,
You
there's
probably
also that,
shouldn't.
there's also that soda machine where
Oh,
it's a soda for a quarter.
HR the soda machine.
Well, we
Yeah,
have an actual
HR.
HR. We've had an actual HR for a few years.
Yeah, I know, but
It's true,
that's still
but
the name of the soda
It's still the
machine
name of the
from
soda
when
machine.
we
You can
didn't have
still
HR.
go and like talk to the soda machine about your problems if you really want to.
I mean,
but
the soda machine's not going to answer, but it might give you a free soda because
No.
it might, or it might eat your money and
Soda
not give you a
machine is
soda.
not going to answer, but it also is like it's not going to judge you, and it's just there to give you a
It's-
soda.
just there to dispense sugary comfort. That's really all it does. So, and sometimes it doesn't even do that.
Yeah, that is true. All right, so why don't you tell everyone who's on the stream exactly what a web store coordinator does? Because actually, your job is one of the few jobs outside of editorial that in my big stream about how the product moves in the company, if anyone hasn't watched it, it's like our third or fourth episode, that it was in there. Because I said everything that happened in the product, and then I'm like, and then it leaves editorial, but we do these things in these final steps. And that's Katina who does those things. So tell us more about that.
So what a web store coordinator does is something I'm still figuring out. It's really weird. Oh, my headphone's falling out. It's interesting because I mean, there is some stuff even that I feel like will kind of trickle down from what I did in customer service, and just the way that the job was set up before. The lines are very blurred for where some stuff goes because, you know, there wasn't anybody in that job for a while, and then Chris Lamberts did a little bit of everything basically. So there's kind of a lot of stuff. She wasn't even the web store coordinator, but she was doing some of the stuff that now I'm kind of doing. So right now, a lot of it is building product pages. I was in the office till 9:30 yesterday uploading PDFs for society stuff for organized play.
Yep, that's thanks to our good friend Linda and
yeah.
others. But
Linda and Tanya have been chatting with me all day.
But I'll tell all of our viewers that
if Katina had not done that, then there would have been more delays.
Like,
and
if your GM knows what they're doing at Gen Con because they got the adventures on time, that's because Katina stayed until 9:30 and got all of the adventures over.
Well, I mean, that's one part of the process. I mean,
but it's
John was doing stuff.
Listen, it's an important part of the process. There have been times on online when legitimately people, like the fans, have been like, "What's going on? Where's our thing X?" And John is like, "Look, we sent it up." And didn't get up. But Katina, you stayed late and you got everything over to people, and I want to call that out, and I want everyone to pay attention to it and think about how awesome that is, because this is going to be the only time, and for the rest of it, it's just going to be there like, why isn't this thing up?
I hate it. Yeah, seriously. Well,
Well, I mean, you have a lot of experience with, I suppose, with people being more likely to tell you when things are wrong than when things are right from being in customer service.
Yes, that's kind of, people tend to speak up more when they're upset as opposed to when they're pleased. But that's not always true. The Paizo customer base is actually really nice for the most part. Like, there's a lot of people who take time to say, hey, you probably get a lot of complaining people, but I want to say, thanks for doing a good job. Or we had a lot of people say, do you have a survey we can take or whatever? So we don't, but I was like, you can email the manager. So
you can tell her I'm cool.
Yeah, but so the stuff for the web store, I'm making product pages. Basically, you get the information in, put it all up there so that it's in our system and so that it can go on the website. I'm also talking with consigners, like people who want to sell their products on Paizo. I'm still learning a lot of that part, and just as an apology to everybody that is waiting on anything for me, the position was vacant for 3 months, so there's a lot of requests, and people are like, hey, I haven't heard anything, and I feel really bad, but I'm like, I understand, but I'm working through a backlog.
I just started. Right. I'm learning my new job.
Yeah.
I'll get to you.
Okay. Yeah, and then I got really sick after the first week, and I felt really bad, but I was like, I can't come into work. I'm dying. But I spent my whole time being sick, stressed out, because I was like, there's so much to do, and and that was right after we changed subscriptions, because part of what I do too is manage the subscriptions. So making sure this product is attached to these subscriptions, and it will get this percentage off for subscribers and whatever like that. So it was setting up and making sure the new ones were set up right and that they would go live, and obviously working really closely with the tech team on that because there's a lot they have to do. But and part of like one of my big goals going forward is kind of organizing how the store displays better. Because
that'd be good.
I know that like there are more parts that I don't know need to be fixed than there are that I do, and that's a lot. Because I mean, there's just stuff. It's just it has to do with the way things are grouped, and kind of, I think there was some shuffling when the website got remodeled, and then also just with the slew of incoming second edition products, things got kind of jumbled up a little bit. So I mean, part of what I want to do in like long-term goals is make it easier for people to find stuff on the website, and easy for us to highlight, hey, these are cool things you can buy, or hey, these are third-party people that have awesome things you might want. So
like
just
the
make
old
it easier.
Third-party newsletters, maybe.
Yeah, kind of. And I mean, I'll also be doing store emails, so I haven't been able to do one yet. But that's another thing I'm going to be doing, is putting together, emails of these things are coming out, or these things you can pre-order, or whatever. So
makes sense.
Yeah, it's a lot that I'm trying to figure out, the priorities and how to fit everything in. So it's slowly coming together, but hopefully eventually I'll kind of hit my stride a little more and be able to juggle all these. I was gonna say juggle plates, but it's spinning plates.
Yeah,
so I don't
know.
Both. You can juggle and spin plates.
Dranziar has been wondering, Katina, how long exactly has it been since you took this new title of web store coordinator?
Less than a month.
Less than a month, guys.
So she's
done all of this in less than a month. That's pretty impressive.
I want to say like I don't remember exactly the day they started. I think it was like the 24th or something like that. It's like end of June.
A month next week.
Yeah, and it happened actually pretty quickly. I had applied for it, like when it first opened, but then just PaizoCon kind of happened, and that everybody is really busy then, and just kind of nothing really moved with it for a while, and then it was kind of Jeff stopped me one day and was like, "Hey, are you still interested in this thing?" Like as I was leaving, I was like, "Yes," and he was like, "Oh, okay, well, like let's chat about it on Monday," and we chatted about it. He's like, "You want to start doing it tomorrow?" And I was like, "Okay." So it wasn't like it was something I had applied for like a while ago, and then I was like, "Oh, I guess they forgot, or like they have someone in mind, whatever, I'll forget about it." And then it was just like so
that's now.
So there's a giant swell of support for you from a variety of people talking about web backends being very hard to deal with. Kitsune Warlock says web design is a combination of craft and necromancy.
It is. It's true. And I don't know what I'm doing in terms of like I'm like, ooh, HTML, cool. Like I did this on MySpace.
It's like you're a sorcerer.
It's true. A web sorceress.
A web sorceress. There you go. So this is the job you've had for less than a month. But what about customer service, where you worked at Paizo for the rest of those last 5 years?
5 years. Yeah, because I think now it's almost been 5.5. But customer service. I don't know, like what people want to know about it. Like
people said that they were reading the customer service forums online and were very impressed with customer service.
I really do think like, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I really do think it's a good department. Like, I mean, it's just such a great group of people, and like obviously a lot of the time that I was there, I was working with Sharia too, and Sharia's awesome, and Diego's great. He's on vacation now, so but yeah, no, I mean, it's just, I think like when I interviewed, that they always ask, why do you want to do this, what brings you to customer service, basically. And it's just, as much as I'm like, oh, I'm an introvert, or like I'm shy, I'm not actually that shy, but I get along with people and I like talking to people and helping people, and so it just kind of comes more naturally to want to assist, I guess. I don't know, like that sounds kind of weird and cliche.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, and it's really cool to be like on the phone with someone and be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry that, your Shamazian demon was broken. Like, I'll send you another one." Like, just that's not something you have to say very often, or like, "Oh, yes, we'll get that Book of the Damned to you right away." Like, it's just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I could just hear like Yamasoth or someone on the Abyss telling Elasnus that. It's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, the heroes broke your Shamazian, damn it. We'll get you another one right away.
We'll send it with free shipping." Yeah, like
your Shamazian broke way too fast. I demand 5 Shamazians.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what people are interested in hearing about customer service.
You must have some customer service story that you want to tell.
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But customer service after dark now. I'm not sure, honestly. I mean, we had some good times, and like, it's interesting too because there's like different eras. There's the Diego and Shreya, and then there's Virginia and Sam, who are also both awesome. And I don't know. Like, I think things that stand out in my mind are just like when there was a weekend we stayed because we had so many returns, just stacking up in boxes because we were just. I think it was after the Great Golem sale. Um, it was just this big, huge sale, so everyone was ordering all this stuff, and warehouse was backed up, and it's like right before Christmas, so it was just kind of like like we were so busy, and we just had so many returns. And I think one of the executives was like, we should probably get rid of some of these boxes that are just hanging out. So we had a returns party, and we just spent like a whole weekend just going through, and we made like a big, I think we took a picture and put it up somewhere, but it was like we stacked them all up, and it was just the four of us like all hanging out with a giant thing of boxes. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's nice because I feel like the group gels very well, so everyone gets along. And
what about the puns and Diego's hatred of puns?
Well, from my perspective, puns are great, and I don't understand why he doesn't like joy in his life.
Take it from a self-avowed pundit, folks.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he says he hates them, and I'm like, does he really hate them?
Or does he just like say that he hates the puns?
Yeah, it doesn't register in my brain not liking puns, because puns are funny. Like, so are bathroom humor jokes. Like, whatever. I'm not picky, so I'm not picky about my humor.
You know what? The many of the supposed great comic playwrights like Aristophanes use tons of bathroom humor, puns, and personal attacks. So
good, yeah. So
let's
see. There's a lot of comments about customer service, such as people saying every time they called customer service, they had nothing but a positive experience. Only company they could say that for. But some questions for you, such as what kind of requests do you field most often in customer service? Is it replacement products?
No, honestly, it's payment failures. Like, the one we get the most often is there's something wrong with your billing address. And what happens in our system, it's really annoying, is, well, I don't know if it's just our system, but like if you get an address failure, a lot of the times it will still like look like you got charged on your bank. So most of the time in customer service, most of the phone calls are like, panicked emails are like, why did you charge me 8 times? And we're like, well, we didn't, but this has a different address on it, so your bank is putting holds on it, basically, and explaining that to people a lot. And but yeah, I mean, I think that's payments probably the most common one. And I mean, it's a lot of just little things like, what's going on with my order, or like, hey, my store credit isn't working, or stuff like that. So, and it fluctuates depending on how close it is to subscriptions, because if we're going to get ready to send out a new round of subscriptions, then we get a ton of people being like, oh, hey, actually I want to cancel before the next one came out, or whatever. Or they'll have the payment stuff be like, I need to fix this before it goes. And around convention season, there's a lot of convention stuff, or just like trying to figure out where are the scenarios for the volunteers for for all this stuff, and stuff like that. So it kind of varies, but I'd say payment stuff, like little order problems.
So on that topic, Kitsune Warlock is wondering how often people randomly email you for rules questions.
Oh, all the time. People call sometimes too, because they think, well, there was that one rules. Like, didn't Dungeons and Dragons have a hotline you could call for rules stuff?
I think so, or there was at least a letter column you could write in the mail and then get it answered in Dragon Magazine.
Yeah, we get a lot of rules questions, and it kind of varies why. Like, some people just, they've never been to the website, but they have this book and they're like, I'm going to call the number and see what this rule's about. And we're like, sorry, we can't answer rules questions, because first of all, if you ask me a rules question, I'm not going to know it. Like, I'm probably going to give you terrible, not correct information. So, but
full
also just, what?
Puns.
Yeah, exactly. So just be warned, even though I'm not answering phones anymore. So, but yeah, no, people call or email because they want, they're curious, or we get some, like party debates where they're like, well, this player says this, but my GM says this, like, they're not going to stop fighting until we get an official ruling. And I'm like, okay, well, we're not going to give you an official ruling, because again, I have no idea what I'm talking about. And we tell people to go to the forums, because there's so many discussions about everything, and if there's not one, then you can make one. So yeah, and then we also get a surprising amount of like prisoner mail. So because there's a lot of people that play while they're incarcerated, so we have a fair amount of people too who will like call in to place orders for their family members or friends or whatever, because they don't have internet access. So, or they're and they can't, a lot of places they can't do like hardcover books, so they're like, oh, is this book hardcover or softcover, like, do you have blah blah blah. So we field a lot of those questions too. So it's kind of it's a surprise every day.
So someone was Rex Liquid wanted to try to figure out how many overall puns there were. So he's wondering what percentage of them make it to the overheard at Paizo thread, because then he can extrapolate from there.
Oh, well, so I mean, that thread honestly hasn't been super active lately. It used to be for a while. Like, I think it's kind of varied depending on what chat programs we use in the office.
Oh, okay.
Because we used to have iMessage for everybody, basically, like, or iChat or whatever it's called now. Whatever it's called nowadays.
Jabber.
Jabber, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's it. I didn't like it, but a lot of people were on it for a while, so I mean, there was a lot of just banter in there in kind of like a big group, so there was a lot more like, oh, that's funny, I'm gonna put that in there. But now it's like, okay, well, some people have teamwork, some people have Slack, like, there's not a whole bunch of like big group chats,
right?
There, so it's less likely. But I personally like that thread. But getting back to the numbers side, it's a pretty small percentage.
Okay.
Like, the amount of groans that I get for puns every day is way higher than you see on that thread. So
yes, it's measured in what, mega groans, giga groans.
Yeah, exactly. It's the groan counter.
So big units for this one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, there's lots of puns.
Let's maybe move on to Oblivion Oath now.
Okay, yeah.
So, how did you get started on Oblivion Oath?
Well, I mean, the same way as the rest of them. Basically, well, so I think probably I don't know. I suspect there were like seeds of it when we were doing the Doomsday Dawn streams. Because, Jason had sent out emails being like, hey, we're going to be doing previews of the playtest. If anyone's interested in doing those. I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. Like, I could do that. So, and that was a lot of fun. So I think it was kind of, it's not like people who were on those streams were guaranteed to get it. But I think that when the time came around that Jason and Dan were talking about Oblivion Oath, they sent out that email, being like, hey, anyone who wants to do this, do you have any cool character concepts? We're gonna have a meeting for it. So um they set up, interviews, and they just kind of chatted with me, and hey, what kind of player do you think you are? What kind of character do you usually go with? That kind of stuff. And so, I mean, yeah, it was just kind of answering that and doing the interview. And I think it helped that they had seen me in Doomsday Dawn already to be like, oh, yeah, she can be okay on a stream and not like the worst. Yep. She occasionally makes people laugh and mostly makes them go, oh,
hey,
God, why?
I was your GM two of those 3 times, and the other one was Jason. So
good.
So what did you know even from the beginning about your character concept from Oblivion Oath, and what kind of developed as you've been playing?
I don't. So it's weird because there's still kind of a lot about Micah that hasn't been revealed really yet. It's kind of just, we talked when they decided who was going to be in the stream. We all kind of got together and we were just talking about like, yeah, did you have any ideas? What were you thinking about going with? And like we kind of just chatted about different concepts, and it's I feel like I have this compulsion to kind of make things cohesive, and so like I tend to be like trying to balance things out and be like, I'm gonna be the one that balances the party. What do we need? Like but that's just because I'm really indecisive. So I'm like, okay, you all decide what you want to do, and then I'll fill in the gap so that make it work. But they kind of didn't let me do that, which is good, I think, because it kind of made me do some so I was like, yeah, I am not as familiar with playing casters, and I get kind of intimidated sometimes when I have to deal with spell lists, and like just the more I have to keep track of, it's harder for me sometimes. And so Eva Liren, my character in the Doomsday Dawn, she was a monk. So I'm not to say that like you can't get complicated with that, and I'm sure there are tons of people that do, but for me, I mean, I was kind of just like, slash slash slash, I have tiger claws, I'm gonna kill everything basically. And like
you killed so many things.
Yeah, I ripped out a lot of tracheas, but that was like my main goal. Like I honestly didn't even really have too much of like a backstory like that. I hadn't really gone as much into like the character really with that. And so when we were talking, I was like, yeah, I'm not really super comfortable with spellcasters because I don't do them as often, but I don't know if I want to do something super punchy. Like, should I balance the party out? And they were like, well, no, like do something you want to do, and maybe do something you're not as familiar with, because that'll be kind of interesting. And I was like, oh, okay. And so, and actually, I don't remember exactly who it was. It might have been Owen, but I think Owen was kind of the one that's like, you should try something that you're not as familiar with, and you can get familiar with it. And not only that, but you can make it part of who she is. And that's part of why Micah is like, she has not finished her studies. She technically didn't graduate. And she's still learning. She's still relatively young. So she's kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to try and do good things. So let's see what we can do. So that was kind of where it started, just really basic. I'm going to be a wizard, and she's going to be a little bit bumbly and not really know what she's doing, but heart of gold type of thing.
That makes sense.
So,
and actually, it sort of dovetails into a question Night Fox asked a while back, and I've been queued up, which is,
okay.
So you, relatively recently, to some people at least, started role playing, and Night Fox wanted to know, between learning Pathfinder First Edition and learning Pathfinder Second Edition, how did it feel different? Did it feel, was one of them easier? Was one of them more challenging?
So I still don't feel like I've learned First Edition. I read like, it's weird to be like, oh yeah, I started not too long ago. It was only 8 years ago. Like that is kind of a long time.
Most of the people on chat, I'm sure that 8 is less than a lot of them.
Yeah, this is the tangent, but I feel like people might think it's entertaining. But
go for it.
Before we filmed the last episode of Oblivion Oath with Owen and Jason, or Owen's last episode, we were all just chatting before we we're waiting for we'd already checked our mics and everything. We're just kind of waiting to go live, and we're chatting about Gen Con because it's looming in the distance and everyone's thinking about it. And Jason said, oh, yeah, this Gen Con's gonna be my 32nd Gen Con. And I was like, whoa, what? And he was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that my first one was in 87. And I was like, I was born that year. And both him and Owen were just kind of like, so I felt bad, but also I thought it was pretty funny. So, but it's weird because I know there's a lot of, people who get like gate kept or don't feel comfortable kind of joining the hobby or whatever. And I hope and think that's changing recently, but it's weird for me to have people who have literally been doing this for longer than I've been alive. And some people are, there's always the people that are like, I've been doing this forever, I know what I'm talking about, you're dumb. But I feel like there are a lot of people that are just really excited to like get other people into the hobby. So yeah, I get self-conscious when I'm like, it was only 8 years ago that I learned this. So but I still I think second edition has been easier for me to learn, I think, because I'm coming in at the ground floor. Like,
that makes sense.
Because I think some of the thing that's really overwhelming for me sometimes in first edition is just how much there is. Like, I don't know, like, a lot of the basics from the stuff that was added later. So it's really weird to me that, like, there's some mechanics that technically are from, advanced whatever, and I'm just like, I don't know where this came from. And so it's hard for me to kind of boil things back down. So it's interesting going into second edition. I'm kind of starting from the core rulebook and just kind of, it feels a little bit like an easier point of entry for me.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's kind of a different perspective to be like, oh, it's obviously there's going to be more stuff coming out for it and it's going to kind of build up again, but yeah, it's just, I think it's a little bit less intimidating to be like, well, other people are learning this too. And I feel similarly about Starfinder too, because that's new enough that I'm like, okay, there's not a whole lot of existing lore or existing stuff that I'm scared to kind of trample on or get wrong or whatever.
Right.
So feels more natural, I think.
Speaking of Starfinder, so I heard that your first RPG freelance credit is going to be in Alien Archive 3. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if you don't count the RPG. Okay,
yeah,
because I did the
and then go to the card game afterwards.
Well, I didn't know if you meant RPG just in general, like the term. Yes, yeah, I did make, actually the whole customer service team did Aliens in Alien Archive 3. So we can't say which ones yet. But I'm really excited for it.
So that's so intriguing now.
Well, I did 2 different ones. So
one is
maybe I'm describing one pointy quadrupedal thing, or actually it kind of could work for both.
There you go. Katsuna Warlock thinks it's a hedgehog person. So,
oh my god, that'd be awesome. I mean, that's totally what it is.
Surprised and excited. I think you were wrong.
Yeah.
So a hedgehog person like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie?
I guess so. But except for not that. You've hurt her feelings. Like
yeah.
Okay.
Gotta go fast.
So I'm sorry. I just had to bring that up. The point is better than there's early things for the Sonic the Hedgehog.
But your published credit that already is out is for the adventure card game, right? Which one of those adventures did you write?
I've written 2 that are out.
Cool.
So the first one I did was for John Compton, and that was 4-1. That was Chasing Yellow Sails. That's so it's about slaves. Like I mean it's in Okino or Okino. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Yeah, and it's been a really long time, so I don't I don't know how much I even remember of it, but you're trying to find someone and you have to kind of go around the slaver town and then you have to escape and kind of get to a boat. So, yeah, that
Yep.
was my first one and that was a couple years ago now. And then I did 5-3 and that was for Linda
Mm-hmm.
and that was Escape from the Titan's Jungle.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and that was in the Valishmai jungle. So that's pretty interesting. Lots of stuff going on there. But again, my brain's been scrambled by all the like stuff
Oh,
playing it.
no
So I don't
worries, no
remember all
worries.
the
Yeah,
details.
for Veloce by Jungle, one thing that I think is cool with that is that
Mhm.
it's one of those locations that's so ridiculously dangerous that if you were doing the RPG, you'd have to do something really long and complicated. And you have to like go into
Yeah.
that, and nobody's done that yet. So your adventure there was the first adventure to travel to the Veloci Jungle that Paizo's ever published.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really interesting too. And I mean, it's I think it's a really cool setting. Just plants are trying to kill you, and there's all sorts of crazy stuff there. And honestly, part of the problem I had with that scenario is kind of fitting all that into like such a little package,
Oh yeah.
because I mean each card is not very long, so it's you're kind of trying to condense it a little but still make it interesting. So it's like I want to tell these people all about all these cool things that can kill you, but there's only so much space.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
but
you run out of space pretty fast on
yeah,
those adventures.
yeah, there. I mean, each card I think is like 450 words or
Right.
something
Yeah,
like that. So,
we got it up to 500 for this coming
oh,
year,
okay,
but now we got a little more space, but still, it's real
Oh,
tight.
thanks for the
yeah.
follow. Well, I didn't point to it. All right. So you mentioned before that when you were testing for Nintendo, you were doing the French playtest. But
Yeah.
there's also a lot of French RPGs. Have you been able to use your French skills while you've been working in the RPG industry?
Yeah, I've done some translation for Black Book Editions, who they do Paizo's French translation, but this is freelance, so it's not technically Paizo, and it's not Paizo products. Um, the two things I've done so far, so it's been a while. Like it's kind of weird just with the development cycle, how long some of it can take, especially when it's they're I think there were both Kickstarter projects. So one of them
Oh yeah, those things.
uh yeah, it take a while. So I did what was it called? Mythic Battles Pantheon.
Ooh, that
So
sounds fun.
that was the first one that I did. And so that one, I mean, I think they released this big huge like actual minis game with tons of cool minis and stuff, but what I was doing was translating the rules, the RPG book basically from French into English. So I mean, I didn't do the whole thing. It was not just me. There was a bunch of people. um so that was the first one, and then last year I did it's called Time of Legend Joan of Arc.
Oh,
So yeah, it's an RPG basically set in Joan of Arc's time period, and I think you can play as her, but like there's all sorts of different types of medieval-ish people that you can do. Or is that medieval? Am I saying the
yeah,
wrong
I
time
think it's
period?
fine.
That counts. That
But
counts.
if you get to high enough level, do you get burned at the stake?
I hope so. And you survive, yeah. So that one was cool too. I haven't gotten the book for that one yet, so I'm kind of wondering like, hello, did it get printed? Like what's and I've moved since I did that project, so I'm like, I
Oh,
hope they didn't send it to my old place, but
and then
Did you get any phantom bank account charges that were happening that you might need to call their customer service department about?
or
yeah,
like
I'd be like, excuse me.
the new tenant is like, whoa, this I got this myths and pantheons and Joan of Arc game.
Yeah,
Where's
this is
that come
pretty
from?
sweet. Yeah. Yeah, so that's cool. And I really enjoy it. It's very weird to have to like kind of turn my brain in multiple different ways because game terminology is a thing kind of all in its own. Like especially with RPGs,
Right.
there's so much that I can pick up an English RPG book and be like, "What am I reading? What is happening?"
So how do you
So
decide how to translate these like super game terms? Do you go with something more literal or do you go with something more figurative? And
It kind of depends. So I mean, for a lot of it, they have like if there are terms that they're like, okay, we need these to all be translated the same way, we want it standardized. um they put like the way they do it is they have a glossary. So like, if there are place names or like game terms or basically phrases that are going to be used a lot, they'll put them in a glossary so that everyone can be on the same page and be like, oh, okay, this is translated to this. What is actually kind of harder is thinking of, there's weird little turns of phrase or kind of like almost like colloquialisms that you're just not expecting to be like, oh, that doesn't quite work in English. Like, how am I going to get the same meaning across? Or if there were some times where, like in French, they would have multiple ways to say something, but in English, it was like one way and it gets kind of repetitive. I'm like, okay, how do you change it up and make it so that I'm not saying the same word all the time?
Oh, right.
So,
yeah, no, that makes sense.
So like one thing that I found was interesting was when you say die roll, instead of like, a roll of this or whatever, a lot of times they would say a result of, but they use the word for throw. So you're like, okay, a throw of the dice. Like, and I feel like saying throw dice in English is not as common. It's kind of like a more of
for saving throws.
Yeah.
I personally feel is kind of a sacred cow that confuses people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I mean, yeah, it's stuff like, I don't even know, I don't think they had really this word specifically, but like if you were going to say save, like you have to make this save, it would sound weird in like other languages. So you have to kind of think,
right?
Again, if it's not in the glossary, which they're like, oh yeah, this is weird, we'll just make it this. But yeah, so I really enjoy using that part of my brain. So it's also just the more I use my French, the less likely I am to lose some of it. So like, because I also speak German, but I haven't done any German translation yet. Well, I mean, I haven't been offered any, but
there you go. You have to ask Ulysses Spiele.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a little less confident in my German, even though I started taking German first. I started German in junior high, and was planning to take it through college, and then I was like, ooh, what's French? Like, so I just kind of wandered off that way. But I was good at it. Like, I took the AP test for it and stuff in high school. But since I started focusing on French, then that has waned, so I don't feel like my German is as strong. And also German's hard, and like I think since it was the first language I learned, it helped in French to kind of have a reference back to another language, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I'm sad because I'm like, oh, my German's not as good and I miss it. And then I'm also like, ooh, I want to learn, Korean. I want to learn Japanese. I want to learn Spanish. Like, so I don't have enough time to do any of that, but I play Duolingo every day. So that'll help.
Yeah. Oh, so you use that to learn new languages to keep things sharp, both?
Yeah. I use it just, if I want to, because I have a streak. I had like a 160-day streak, and then I accidentally broke it because I think their servers are on like different times or something, but I was like, but yeah, I will use that just to kind of practice and just have a little bit of a language in my day. But then I also will use it sometimes to just be like, oh, let's do some really basic like Japanese lessons so I can recognize like a couple symbols. Like it's kind of an easier way to just, practice languages and like get kind of a foundation, and just it's almost like flashcards if you don't know the language already. But for French and German, I'm like, okay, yeah, oh, I forgot what that word is, or like I don't remember exactly how this grammar thing is. So it'll lead sometimes to me like looking stuff up and kind of be like, oh yeah, I remember reading about that. So
all right, well, it looks like you spawned a lively discussion about the rules as written based on talking about when you're talking about not always remembering the rules, and people say, well, that's not necessarily the most important thing. And now we've gotten into some interesting comments about French. So Elf Tarot is French Canadian and says that French tabletop RPG books are weird.
Okay.
And Kitsune Warlock said that because Chaos Wand magic card is Baguette du Chaos, that Kitsune Warlock kept a copy because to giggle at this Chaos Baguette.
Oh my god, I want a chaos baguette. That's amazing. I forget, like, yeah, I've read some of the Harry Potter books in French, and it's baguette magique for magic wand, and I'm just like, I showed Chris Lamberts because Chris Lamberts is obsessed with Harry Potter, like, and I told her, I was like, yeah, did you know that's what it's called? She was like, oh my god, I'm so excited. So she was really happy about that. So yeah, I want a chaos baguette now. So thanks for that.
and Shappy T.S. Rodriguez says, No entiendo nada de inglés, pongan los subtítulos, por favor.
Something about subtitles in English, please.
Yeah, we need to use subtitles because he doesn't understand English, except he absolutely does.
Okay.
But you know, Chevy, that would work better if you hadn't been talking to us in English during pretty much every
during like all the other streams.
Womp womp. Oh man, that's awesome though.
All right, and then we got a bunch of magic wands.
Well, I mean, it's important. It's relevant to the topic.
Yeah.
Magic wand is one of our emojis. The other ones are a lushie and a squirrel to represent how easily we go on tangents. So when you're like, if that's okay, maybe I can go on a tangent. I'm like, I need to not laugh because then she might take it the wrong way. But
I put a squirrel
we literally
up.
have an emoji
I
for
put
how
the
much
squirrel
we go on
emoji up when we went on the tangent. But here's a squirrel because we're on a tangent about squirrels. People just started putting up the squirrels. All right, but I think we mostly kept on topic. So let's hit another one. So
okay.
Before you're on Oblivion Oath, you were the face of Paizo at the Gauntlet because you've been the Gauntlet team captain for a few years. Can you tell us a little bit about what Paizo has done at the Gauntlet and what the Gauntlet is for our fans who don't know? Because I know Rex Liquid knows because he was one of our top people the year that I did it with you who helped.
Okay.
He actually helped me practice. What was the one, the really hard one that was like tack? Yeah, he helped me practice tack on the online tack.
Oh, I was so bad at that one.
I cannot believe I won the tack against the person. The guy I beat was really good, but I got lucky.
I did terribly at that game, and I was not surprised because even practicing, I was like, nope, I'm not good at this game.
The game's a lot of fun though. I liked it.
Yeah. So the Gauntlet it's a board game event. It's put on by Mox Boarding House in Bellevue, or Mox/Card Kingdom. I don't know how their branding works, but it's basically a fun. So it's a fundraiser. They start, I think, a month or two out, and you get they get I think they usually try and do 20 companies. Game companies from the Pacific Northwest. So, Wizards of the Coast is there. They have 2 teams. Bungie participates, and they absolutely obliterate everyone in fundraising every year because I think they put out perks in game. They're like, you get a hat if you donate to us, or some special, I don't know, emoji probably. But so
Bungie, they do that. They give you a special badge on what and they're really famous.
It's for charity stuff.
They're really famous game. Can't remember it right now off the top of my head.
Destiny?
Destiny, yeah, it's the one.
Okay, yeah.
They give you a Destiny badge, so of course it gets the most. Although I have to say, your first year as captain, when we had 0 famous people on the team, we outraised almost any of the other years.
I think it was all of the years. I think it was our highest ever, and I don't even remember.
They
I think
sometimes had years that were Jason and Eric and all the most famous people at the company. So you must have been doing something right.
I guess. And then this year was kind of we tried, but it's for charity, so whatever. Mm-hmm. It's hard to gauge what it's going to be like because I had no idea the last year that it was going to be so high, and I think I got the lowest donations. I'm pretty sure you got the most. I don't even remember, but
we all got a good amount. There was a time that I was in the last place because people just didn't want to hear about paladins. But then there was I got that anonymous big donation, and we all did really well because we had the thing where each one of us championed one of the classes. From the play test, and then we were going to give extra material for each class that won, and if we beat the stretch goal, familiars, which we did.
It's interesting. So I mean, basically you fundraise, and they've got all sorts of people and then we come together, and so they pick three, usually 3 games, and board games and card games, I guess. I don't really, whatever. Um, and
Tabletop games or
yeah,
something.
tabletop, but not RPGs. And then we have a day. Usually, it's the weekend before PaizoCon, which is really unfortunate because everyone it's just like, oh my god, I'm dying.
That's
I had
why
no
I've never
sleep.
done that one.
I would have loved to do it again, but
Oh no, I know. And I can't blame anybody for being like, I am too busy. I cannot do this because it's crazy. And that's why I got made team captain, basically, is because Jason, it's still basically Jason's thing. I don't know how involved he wants to be in it in the future, but I think it's still technically his thing. So it's just last year he was like, playtest, can't do it. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So, and then this year, obviously with the second edition, he was like, so I'm like, okay, well, whatever.
He's been pretty busy flying down to LA.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
As someone who started on Crypt of the Everflame and is playing in one of Jason's streams, what do you think about Knights of Everflame that just got announced?
I'm very curious to see what it's. I mean, so like I said, I don't remember that much of Crypt of the Everflame, and I don't think we got super duper far. Because we played for like a day, and then that was like, okay, well, now you've been introduced to RPGs. Like, it was a one-time, like, hey, come over and have a game day type of thing. So I would probably need to brush up and remember what it's all even about. But I think it's really cool that there's that basically the kind of introductory adventure is tied to now the one for second edition, to be like, oh, let us usher you into this addicting hobby. So I'm very curious. And it's weird because as someone who's never GM'd, or technically I GM'd at PaizoCon this year, and it was terrible. It was fun, but I was bad at it.
Actually,
I'm sure you were better than you thought you were.
Hold on, unprovoked, very early in the stream. Oh no, it looks like it scrolled off of the list of things, but oh no, I think I have another one that goes all the way back. No, I don't. Yeah, there were too many chats, but unprovoked early in the stream, Brian Rocket Lettuce just said a comment. It was like the 5th comment that was like, I had a great game at PaizoCon that Katina was running the delve, and I wound up accidentally sitting down with he was saying he was sitting down with the same guy who had been at Valeros, who tried to murder his goblin at another table, and that time he worshipped his Ezrin as a god. So if you remember a table where someone worshipped Ezrin as a god that you were running, that was Brian. Brian was Ezrin at that table, and I
remember him. He was very nice. Yeah. I think we're friends on Twitter now.
Okay,
so.
Yeah, see? Yeah. And he said that you did a great job.
See, we have it right here for you. You were, see, he says you were very fun. We have it right here for one of the players at the table.
Yeah, there's even long. He wrote a thing that was like 5 lines in the Twitch chat at the beginning. I just didn't get to it, and then it scrolled off. But
well, that's very sweet.
But he said it was not terrible. It was me. You were very fun just now.
Oh, so. Yay! Okay, well that's good. That flatters my ego a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. So it's something that I could see myself trying to GM at some point, like the Knights of the Everflame, just because I don't know, that'd be a kind of cool full circle thing.
Yeah, if Jason ever gives everyone his like special script notes or whatever he gives.
Yeah.
Can be a scary thing trying to prep off of another GM's back of the napkin scratch notes.
Oh jeez.
Also, I guess with like actors who have done it and that people may have seen, that it would just be a very high bar. But there's always Fall of Plaguestone, which is the first adventure that Jason wrote. It's not in the same place or as Everflame, but that's another option.
You could also run a Pathfinder Society adventure. We do cool things in Pathfinder Society.
And they're shorter, so it's less of a commitment to run it. To run a quest, they are only an hour.
Yeah, that's true. They're little guys. You could also run the Dead God's Hand. That's going to be an exciting one.
Oh yeah, right? Eric's super long one that's about Aradin.
Yeah, it's like 128 pages and stuff. I think it's a
Nightbox,
hardcover.
Thanks for subscribing.
Yay!
Awesome. Yeah, no, Eric was like, he was asking me some questions on chat. I was like, is this for your adventure? That's really cool. I'm glad this is going to be an adventure.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that's for my adventure. So I
He's
won't
like, what? No.
won't give any spoilers about what it was, but I was like, that sounds like a cool thing.
Yeah. I just like the cover of it. It's like cool, creepy hand poking
Right.
out. Yeah. Oh, that'll be exciting though. I kind of want to read that one.
Yeah, find out more about supposedly, according to the description, Aridin's murder.
Yeah.
Elf Tarot is keeping Arcane subscribed because his subscription wore off, and that Elf Tarot gifted him last time. So now he is subscribed again.
Thanks, Elf Tarot.
That's important because it means that he can stay on the secret Leshy chat which we have on our Discord that is only for subscribers. And I will link the Discord here. If you're not on the Discord, check it out. We have lots of discussions there.
Talk about Leshies.
Well, there's a non-secret Leshy thing, but the thing is that when you subscribe, your name goes up near the top in green and it says subscription Leshies, and then there's a secret channel that's only for subscription Leshies.
It's not actually that secret. It's just the subscriber.
You're talking about it right now.
It's not secret. You'll be in the subscriber channel.
Oh, it's not secret. Hey, you didn't squirrel Elftro. We scrolled by randomly bringing it up.
Ruined everything.
Yeah, no, Prime and gifted subs do count. As long as you as long as you have it all linked there, then it counts.
Yep.
And I remember last time someone went through the process of how to link Discord to Twitch. Do you remember how to do that off the top of your head?
Yeah, you have to go to your account settings and then in the link. It's the same thing that you went to try to unlink us from Steam because it was telling everyone what games we were playing.
Good. Civ 6.
Yep.
That's mine.
Not us, but...
So you're enjoying Civ 6 now?
Yes, yeah. I haven't been playing it for a while because busy, but I do enjoy it. Me and Blake like to play. And I'm just a pacifist. I just want to do culture and science, and I don't want to fight anybody.
Oh, that's what I always do. Like it was in, I think it was in Civ 4. What was the first one where you could just take over things because your culture was better and they built too close to you?
Oh, the culture bombs?
Or just like there was like some Persian and he would just build right next to my cities, but since my culture was so high, I would just wind up taking his city automatically. And then he didn't get.
It's like, sorry, this is mine now.
He didn't get mad, and I was like, okay, sure, Xerxes, you can do that if you want. I think it was Gandhi.
Oh.
And I was being as peaceful as possible, and then I was making friends with everybody, even Saladin, who kept getting mad because I wanted people to convert to Buddhism, and he was like, no, I will never convert to Buddhism. But then Kublai Khan just randomly backstabbed me for no reason, even though we were on good terms, and he was like, well, I have musketeers. That's going to beat you. You don't have anything. But so I started building Marines, which I could have done. But I just didn't. And he was like, oh, that was a mistake.
Oh, no. Womp womp. Yeah, no, once I'm done with some of the other like freelance stuff I'm doing, I want to play more Civ. But then there's also there's a new Marvel game coming out tomorrow. I can't remember what it's called, but it's for the Switch. But yeah, there's lots of games, and I want to watch Stranger Things. Like,
oh yeah.
Well, I know we were talking about games a couple days ago, and I realized that we have similar taste in games.
Yes,
because you're like Stardew Valley and Lego games, and I'm just like Animal Crossing. And I'm like, this is totally what I like to play. We should trade game libraries at some point. Give it suggestions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was at Nintendo that I started getting into Animal Crossing. I had never played it before, and New Leaf came out while I was working there, and it's weird. The one thing, like working at Nintendo, I don't know how it is now, but it was the era of the 3DS, and so everyone had their 3DS with them, and you would get like a million Mii passes or whatever they were called.
Yeah.
Because
the
just
Street
everyone.
Pass, yeah.
Street Pass, that's it, yeah. And one of my coworkers on the project I was working on was like, "Oh my god, new Animal Crossing!" I was like, "What is that?" And she kind of showed me like, "I'm picking apples, like I'm finding fossils or whatever." And I was like, oh, I want to play that. And I was obsessed for a while. Like, I would do the thing where I camped out on the island and was like, I'm going to catch beetles forever until I'm so rich and then I can buy everything. So,
Nitre says you guys should play Stardew Valley together on multiplayer.
That would be fun.
That'd be fun.
You have Steam?
I haven't played that in a while either. That was so my habit with these games is to get obsessed with it for like 2 months and then forget about it completely, which I feel bad about.
That's similar to Linda too. She usually hasn't beaten it yet, and then she just leaves it completely, and then she's like, "Well, it's been too long."
I've been beating more games recently. Like I just finished Lego Hobbit last week.
You did.
Ooh,
and
nice.
after a gap where you weren't playing it for a while, you did come back and get the last few percent.
That's true.
And by the way, beating something for Linda means 100% completion.
Except I don't count achievements that have to do with like speed running things or doing boss rushes because I don't like those.
Yeah.
Yeah, completion, not speed.
Yes, so
collecting things and
I do all the collecting ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I like playing like Harvest Moon and Rune Factory as well. Those are.
I haven't played either of those yet, but I have a feeling I would probably like them.
I think you would too, because Rune Factory. I mean, you probably heard of Harvest Moon, but Rune Factory is kind of like described as a fantasy Harvest Moon, where it's got some more like combat, but you've also got the gathering and the crafting and the villagers with their quirky personalities that you make friends with, and then maybe you can like have a family and you've got your all this farm.
Suddenly, multiple people in the chat said Rune Factory is awesome.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I know of Rune Factory because Blake played it a ton, and so we'd be like in bed getting ready to go to bed, and he'd be playing, and I would just hear his 3DS start up and then be like, Rune Factory 4, and I was like, oh cool, it's that game. And it was that, and there's one other Fire Emblem that he would play those, and it's those type of games where like while you're playing them and you have the sound on, the people aren't talking but they're like, oh what? Like and so I'd be like reading or like on my phone and I just hear and I was like, what is happening in your game right now?
People are making sound effects.
Yeah.
Because full voicing of games is expensive.
Yeah, we can't pay people to say all these words. So, yeah,
especially
but
games that have a lot of words.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
And so
I imagine that testing those is probably a pain in the butt.
I mean, it's no like Trails in the Sky.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Trails in the Sky is an RPG that took so long to translate from Japanese because part 2 of 3 was longer than War and Peace in text.
Oh my God.
And not only that, but it actually it was said to be it's like Sora no Kiseki in Japanese, and it was the curse of Kiseki. It nearly drove the translation people who were doing the second part out of business or to suicide. Because of just how much stress there was for doing it. It took years, but
they got it.
They got it, and
awesome.
it's a really good translation, and it's a good game.
And they decided to translate the third one. It has nothing to do with actual War and Peace.
It's just longer.
Right.
Than
it's just long. Yeah.
The deal with that game is if you want to be a very thorough completionist like me. Try a game where anytime that you complete something, you can go back to all of the old areas, and there's a good chance that every NPC, even in previous towns, will have completely new dialogue that lets you gradually unfold their own personal story.
They usually keep you out of the region from the previous chapters, but every area in the region that you're in, if an event happens, there's an earthquake that's happening as part of your investigation, you go back to everyone and oh wow, I heard there was just an earthquake over in that town. I hope that doesn't mean we're under attack from the Erebonians or something like that. And then every NPC has something else that they're doing.
Oh, that's so I don't have the attention span for those. I will run out of steam so far before I'm done with those that I'm like, that's even if I enjoy a game, it's hard for me to finish them sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you played Fantasy Life.
Yes.
That one I loved, but I think I got pretty far, most of the way, and then I was like, and
Linda beat the Super Endgame Dragon.
I beat the Super Endgame Dragon, but I didn't then do the extra mega endgame something that you had to grind to level up to 160, and I was level 120 after finishing everything else, and then You had to like find someone else to play with if you were going to be level 160, because if you want to do it by yourself, you should probably be level 180. And I'm just like, no.
Oh god,
I'm
yeah.
considering this game done. I've done all the fun parts. I'm not going to get
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the grind, but yeah.
I want like the cute stories and like,
exactly.
you know, like fun parts of it, like the imaginative creative stuff or whatever. But yeah,
once you get to the point where it's just like clearly they've just padded out this game.
Like if it's too grindy, even Linda will stop. That's also true for Ni no Kuni 2, the very end game dungeon. That's all the way at the end where it's like, just play this a million times for the ingredients that you need for the items you need.
No!
Or you can't beat the last few bosses.
Oh geez, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that. It sucks because I mean there are lots of games that I would like to experience or like learn about that I'm just like I probably won't finish that. So like even one that people will probably yell at me about is Final Fantasy VII. I've never played any of the Final Fantasy games.
But you especially never played Final Fantasy VII.
Definitely. No, actually, I especially never played. I mean, I did kind of play 6. That's Blake's favorite one, so I was like, oh, I'll play this.
That's my favorite one too.
Yeah, and this was when we were first dating, and I was like, not familiar with like RPG video games even. So I started playing it and I was like, why do I'm walking through the desert, but these monsters keep attacking me. Why are they randomly attacking me? Like, what is a random encounter? I don't understand.
A random encounter is a game lengthening tool in which random monsters continually attack you while you're walking around. And then you begin to question how anyone ever walks anywhere and survives in this town.
I just kept dying because I was like, I don't know even how to attack. Like, I didn't know that there were timers you had to wait for until you could attack, and I was like, eh. So I gave up pretty fast, and I haven't played it still. And like now that there was the trailer for the new Final Fantasy VII, I was like, oh yeah, like that looks really cool. I don't know anything about it. Like I've heard the name Cloud. Like I've seen that giant sword. That's and I know that chocobos are cute. Like, but yeah, I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I've been watching Blake play it because he's like, I haven't played it in forever. Like I'll replay it. That's fine. And I'm like, well, I don't have the patience for this. Like I'll watch the story parts, and then when you're grinding, for whatever level you need to do, I'll be over here doing cross stitch or like, being on my phone or whatever. So, it's interesting to be able to, and we did a Let's Play channel for a while. So there was a lot of that's how I experienced the whole Mass Effect trilogy was.
Oh, a Let's Play Mass Effect?
Yeah, it's actually something we want to start up again at some point, but we were like, yeah, let's start up our channel again. And then it was like, hey, you have to move in 2 months. And we were like, oh god. So like we were just like, okay, pack up the house, like figure everything out. So like it's kind of been on the back burner, and now it's like, okay, well, second edition's happening. Oh, well, now I have a new job. Like, oh, now I'm doing a lot more freelance than I was before. So like it's kind of hard to find time for it, but it's a channel called Dungeons and Desktops.
Cool. And that's a great name.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I think our friend Matt might have thought of that, but we stole it, and I mean we got permission from him. But it was
stolen
really fun.
With permission.
Yeah, stolen by threats. But yeah, we played through. Well, he played and I talked. Through Mass Effect and the BioShock trilogy. Trilogy? Yeah, there's 3 of them. And just a whole bunch of, we kind of were more into games that are kind of RPG-ish, where you have multiple, choices and paths and stuff like that. So, it's something we would like to do again at some point, but I have no idea like when that's going to be a thing. And I feel really bad because we just kind of really abruptly stopped updating everything for it. So I think for a while there were people on like Twitter being like, hello. But it's pretty fun, and I did enjoy that. So because like I said, I like learning the stories of games, and kind of, especially when there's stuff that's so kind of ingrained in culture and, memes and whatever. I'm like, I don't get that joke. Oh, I'm gonna learn about this game. Okay, now I get it. So I'm educating myself, I guess.
Yeah. And it's fun to have that moment where like, oh yeah, that's what people were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so I'm slowly learning Final Fantasy VII. So eventually I'll know what people are talking about, so that I can I can
Well,
maybe
I
play
have to
the new
admit,
game.
I haven't played FF7 either.
Okay.
I've played Final Fantasy, 2/4, the one that was released as
Yeah.
2 in the United
4.
States and 4 in Japan.
Okay, yeah,
I played
yeah.
that one to death because that was my first Final Fantasy game.
Hmm.
And then I played the original 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 as well in my
Yeah.
DS a while back, but I haven't played 7 yet either. So you're not
There you
alone
go.
in
But you
Okay.
guys probably both know the super spoiler from it.
that. Oh yeah.
No.
Okay, no one tell Katina.
No one spoiled Katina.
Hey, you know what? The remastered version, maybe they'll change it. Then everyone will be shocked.
Maybe.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That
don't
would be
know.
a good way to get buzzed.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I don't think I've been spoiled on anything. I think we watched the trailer, and I think Blake was like, "Oh, that part might be kind of a spoiler." And I was like, totally went over my head. I don't know what, like, nothing in that image said anything to me that was like, so
Well,
I'm
let's put
probably
it this
fine.
way. You know the Snape kills Dumbledore spoiler? There's a
Yes.
spoiler for FF7 that is so prominent that people combined it with the Snape kills Dumbledore spoiler into its own combined spoiler but that if I told you what it was, it would just give you the spoiler, so I won't.
Okay.
So it's
well,
good that you
don't.
somehow have not picked that up. Just so don't read anything about Final Fantasy VII anywhere,
Okay.
or you will
It's
see
probably
that,
gonna be
or
one
you will
that's
see
worth
that
it.
spoiler.
It's probably one that, like, I honestly might have even heard it before, and it just, like, went through one ear, or in one ear and out the other. Like, I might have
Alright,
just
fair
been like,
enough.
what?
Because if it doesn't make sense, it's like blah 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 fantasy characters, just like me with Game of Thrones. Because like I haven't watched Game of Thrones and I don't plan to watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So people like, oh, can I say Game of Thrones spoilers? I'm like, I don't care. I don't know who these
Yeah,
characters
you're like,
are. I'm
you're
not gonna remember
speaking
what this
gibberish to me. I don't know who these people are. So.
Yeah, no, totally. People
Yeah,
are talking
I
about...
love Game of Thrones. Well, I have thoughts about the end, as a lot of people do, but I really like it in general.
Whereas I read the actual first book, Game of Thrones, so I know who the characters are when people talk about the TV series. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, until you get later on, and there's like,
Yeah, then
one of
there's,
them
I'm
still
sure,
alive.
a lot that I don't. I know a lot.
Yeah.
I know a lot of
But-
any of the characters who were in the first book. I'll have heard of them.
Yeah, that was interesting, because so that was another thing that when me and Blake first started dating, he was like, "Hey, have you heard of Game of Thrones?" I was like, "No." Or Song of Ice and Fire or whatever, because he read the
Sure.
books. He's like, "Well, this show is starting like next month. You should read these books." And so I started reading the first one and got to a point where I was like, okay, like I probably have read enough that I'm through the first episode now, so we'll see like how that goes. And I read up to the point apparently right before the episode ends, because it was like this big spoiler, or this big cliffhanger, and I was just like, I didn't get to that part. I gotta read faster. I was just like, oh god. So I like read, I read through them before the episodes would come up, and like binged them a little bit. So I've read them all, but yeah, they obviously diverged. So
Yeah.
I can imagine.
yeah.
Woo!
We got them all signed too, so that's exciting. Because he did a book signing in Seattle, so that's fun.
All right, people are
Man,
talking
chat
all
has
about
moved so
all
fast.
about their favorite RPGs. Like Katina's
Okay.
gotten just so many people to talk about so many things. Like which Final Fantasies were their favorite. People said who liked Persona 3, Dragon Quest
Oh,
8.
Dragon Quest 8. We played Dragon Quest 9 is the one we played together.
I think
isn't it?
so. It was the one that had
With the
multiplayer,
multiplayer?
where
Yeah,
you
that
could
was
be
awesome.
wandering in the world, and if you saw the other person, you could join their random encounters, but you could be simultaneously doing something else. But it
Yeah.
never let you open like a chest that was beyond where the person had gone, or do
If
events.
you were the second player.
If you were the second
Huh.
player. But you could absolutely go back to old dungeons and just do anything else in their version of the world. It was very interesting.
weird. Yeah.
And yeah, it looks like people are talking about spoilers. Some people saying that don't tell people you're playing Final Fantasy VII; they will assume you already know the spoiler. K Monarch says, I assume 3-year-old kids know that spoiler before. So,
Sorry.
and then a lot of people started talking about Game of Thrones and all sorts of other stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, wow.
That's fair.
So yeah, that's why Mark's thinking like, oh yeah, and oh yeah, the comment's still gonna be there on the top, and no, because
No,
the
it's
chat's
not.
just been.
We've got lots of good
Sorry.
chat. No, that's good.
No,
That's
I mean
good.
we have 33 people watching right now,
Everyone
and a lot
stop
of them
talking.
and a lot of them are participating in the chat, which is
Oh,
awesome.
and now they brought up Baldur's Gate for the first time to be like, wow, is this the first time we brought up Baldur's Gate? They said, and now they're talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
That is another one that I have never played, and people are like, and that's one that I know. Go for the eyes, boo! And I'm like,
yep.
I vaguely know that there's a hamster involved in this, so, and I mostly know that because of Mass Effect. Well, I mean, not mostly, but it's referenced in Mass Effect. So, but yeah, that's another one that some people are like, oh my god, you've never played it. So, and that's. Oh, I was gonna say there's a new one coming out, but that's like a sequel, right?
Well, yeah,
so...
it's by Larian, the people who created Divinity.
Yes.
Original Sin.
That's one we played on our Let's Play channel.
That's gonna be Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Because Baldur's Gate 2, Throne of Baal, was like one of my favorite computer RPGs of that era, but my actual favorite is Planescape Torment.
Okay.
Because it was just so weird and quirky and randomly philosophical for no reason, and you don't see that very often.
Yeah. That's good. If it makes you think or make weird choices, that's
you can kill the final boss by just talking to him and willing him out of existence or other weird things.
That almost sounds like Undertale.
In some ways, there are similarities. You can't quite do a pacifist run on Planescape Torment because there's enough weird random encounter areas where you have to fight things.
Yeah.
And I think there's one or two bosses that you have to fight, but somebody did do a run where they used like rogue backstab multipliers to try to do it really quickly and only kill the minimum number of people by just backstabbing them instantly and talk to everyone else.
Okay.
So I think that they broke it to try to do it faster. There's this one chain of NPCs that you have to talk to, and in the game there's a brothel of slaking intellectual lust where you go to just talk to people and play chess with them, and you wind up having to do a quest for each of them. But he figured out that he could, like, if you just pick the pocket of the one person who has the item you want, you can get that item without doing any of the rest of the quests.
Oh my god. Okay, I mean, hey, if it works, that's one way to do it.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Yeah, there are lots of games that it's one of those things with like movies and TV shows too. I'm like, there are so many things I want to watch and see and do, but like the list just keeps getting longer, and even if I try and catch up, it's gonna still keep getting longer, which it's like, oh, there's too many good things to entertain myself with. This is horrible. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, geez.
Well, and I mean, even for the things where it's like everybody knows this, there's like some XKCD that's like, for everything that you say everyone knows, there's like 50,000 people who are just learning about it for the first time today.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think that's cool. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to introduce people to new stuff like that. And like it is weird because I feel like for me, since gaming came later in my life, there's definitely a huge chunk of people in my life that don't know anything about RPGs or like even a lot of video games and stuff like that. So like talking to like my parents, they're like, so you work on a video game? And I'm like, no. Which, I mean, I think they get it now, but there was a long time where they were like, I don't really know what you do.
Whereas, trust me, as someone who grew up playing these games, my parents knew that was that weird thing with the books that my friends would come over and we would play.
Yeah.
But they never got into it, except for when I worked at the company, they begrudgingly were like, okay, well, this is your life now. We guess we'll play. And they actually got level 2
involved.
in
Yeah,
Pathfinder
they played
Society.
3 scenarios with it. They had a good time.
That's awesome. A part of me wants to try and do like the beginner box or something for my my parents. And actually Blake was saying, he's like, we should do my parents and your parents. But my mom, it'd be fun, but also I don't know how it would work. Like my mom probably wouldn't she's not like long form entertainment, so she'd probably be like me and be like, oh, what's going on? Like I'm distracted or like, I just but she's also very creative. So like it's weird because I'm like, I really bet that there are some parts of this that you would really get into. Like you're like, I'm an awesome elf or whatever.
So Brian
But
puts out run a quest for them. PFS quest Sandstone Secret 1 hour game.
yeah, honestly, that might work. Or just make a homebrew and make it relevant to
Yeah, and
things they
you
know.
can run sessions of whatever length you want too. So
Yeah.
if it's like I don't know, if it's like 2 hours is sort of the okay. After that, I'm bored. I want to do something else. You could do 2 hours.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
should learn what could go wrong. Kitsune Warlock points out Lovecraft.
What about? Sorry, wait. What about Lovecraft?
Everyone should learn what could go wrong. Points out Lovecraft teaches us that's not always true.
Yeah.
There's some knowledge that is not meant to be known.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, things can go very wrong in that universe. So those are other games that I like playing though too, is like Arkham Horror and stuff like that. I mean, but outside of the Gauntlet, Blake plays a lot of board games, so I end up playing a lot of them with him too. So it's weird because I'm like, yeah, I feel like a noob. I don't know what I'm doing, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I played that game. And I played that game. Yeah, I played that game. Like, I was like, okay, never mind.
I would say that saying like, oh, you've only been playing for 8 years. You're relatively new. Is kind of a joke, right? Like,
yeah,
a lot of people have been playing for a while, but you've certainly got some experience under your belt at this point. I mean, I haven't been playing for that much longer than 8 years. I've been playing for 11 years now.
Oh, wow, okay.
But you can't say you're a noob at board games when you've been the team captain of a giant board game tournament for 2 years.
What? No, that wasn't me. That was someone.
That was totally you. You're like, that was Katina Davis, not Katina.
No, Katina Davis, obviously.
Yeah.
It can be Shark Tina. So that's
Shark Tina.
Okay, going back to the question of like fun customer service stories. That's actually, I don't know why this one didn't pop into my head, but when I went on my honeymoon, I was gone. We were gone for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, I think. Me and Blake went to Europe, and so obviously I wasn't at work, and this is half customer service and half Chris Lambert's. What they did while I was gone is they took one of those IKEA stuffed sharks and they put it in my chair. And I think and toward the end of it, they printed out a picture of my face and put it on the shark. And so that it was just, and like, there's a couple pictures of it at my desk, and they had handed out some product that was like some subscription product. So there's this like stressed out looking shark in my desk, and there's like a big pile of books and stuff. And like, I wasn't even there for it, but I loved it. So they sent me a picture while I was there. They're like, well, we miss you, so we replaced you. And I was just like, oh my God, this is the best thing that's ever happened. And I'm not even there. So now we like to joke about like, if someone's going to be on vacation or someone's going to be sick for a day or whatever, like, oh, well, we better call in Shark Tina. She's always good for a job. So, and like now they're hiring, because obviously I'm not in customer service anymore. And Diego keeps being like, why don't we just hire Shark Tina? She wouldn't even have to interview. Like, we already know she's good. So.
Our user No Heart the Shark says, I approve.
Yes. Also, consider Bulldog is putting out Shark Shasas, which we talked about in a previous episode where your players don't take all the signs of things. You were like, and this guy whose hand is backwards, and then they say, there's a sign outside that says it's a Rakshasa. And then they're like, I know what killed the mayor. It's a shark. Out the mayor of this landlocked town, it was a shark.
And so we ultimately...
Shark-Shasas.
Shark-headed Rakshasas.
Yeah, it must have been a shark-headed Rakshasa.
I feel like that'd be amazing.
You heard it right here, folks.
Awesome.
So now we know that Shark Tina, or Katina, is actually a shark-headed Rakshasa.
Whoa, now you just told everyone my secret, even though they should have known from my backwards hand. Do they have like backwards fins when they're sharks? Or
maybe.
They totally
get their fin facing the other direction.
Maybe you should be the one to write Shark Shasas.
Also,
hold on.
The game.
And if they're backwards
Shark Shasas by Shark
Katina is clearly sitting there. And sharks have to move it if they want to stay alive, which is a myth, but we think that it's true. And since she's not moving, that proves she's a Shark Shasa, because it's a reverse shark.
Dun dun dun. I mean, I've been moving my face this whole time, so.
That's true. Alright, Arcane asks, where Sharksasa AP when? WERE, where Sharksasa?
I'll get that on your desk by Monday.
Okay, there you go. Or Sharktina will.
Yeah, probably her, because
Sharktina makes promises that regular Katina isn't gonna keep.
That's true. Maybe she's the one making me so busy.
We could just blame Sharktina for everything.
Sharktina, why are you making so many commitments for it? Saying, Katina will do it.
Why would you do this to me?
Oh, don't be mean, Sharktina.
But she, she's also helpful, so.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good for morale.
Oh, man.
Just don't be a fish.
Yeah.
All right.
Man.
So, do we have anything else that you wanted to discuss? I know we've kept you on
we
here
kept you out for longer 35
than usual. Minutes beyond the hour that we requested of you. So I don't want to keep you here all night.
I wasn't sure if it was a set time. I was like, maybe she said it was 2 hours, and I just forgot.
It's 1 hour guaranteed, and then however long you want to stay, and people keep asking questions. So,
okay.
Do you have anything else you want us to cover?
More like an hour and 15 minutes because we feel bad for keeping people's time, and for you, it's just like, oh, we're still talking.
Let's just chat. I don't know that there's anything like specific. I mean, I don't know if people still have questions or.
No, we got through all of them except like the first question that scrolled off at the very beginning of where would you live in Golarion if you lived in Golarion.
Ooh.
I memorized it.
Nice.
It scrolled off. It was like the first thing that anyone
that
said.
was a good question.
So maybe we can end with that.
That is hard, and again, part of it is that I don't know all the places.
Well, it's right behind you. I think that's what they asked.
I know. Let's see. I'm probably right there in that.
The Eye of Bendigo. Okay, you heard it here, folks. Sharktina lives in the Eye of Bendigo. That's what caused the Eye of Bendigo.
Don't mess with
Sharktina. And that's why Aridin was murdered, and that's why she's so excited to find out about Eric's adventure, because she did it.
Sharktina murdered Aridin.
I'm trying to see how well I got away with it. So
thanks
for blowing my cover.
Sharktina is Aridin. Sharktina is a herald of Gazra. We're getting all sorts of theories going here.
Oh yeah, yes. Sharktina is Aridin.
They're all true.
That's how I say I have a Bendigo. How do you say I have a Bendigo, Arcane?
So we don't actually have pronunciation guides for a lot of things, which means that, like, generally, and like
he says Abendago.
Say them together with
I think
each
that's
other
what
and
I
kind
say.
of vaguely agree with what we say, but like in a lot of cases we don't necessarily agree on how we say things. Is
Kyra.
she Kyra? Is she Kira?
Okay, sorry, but you said Shakira, so that
K-I-R-A if it's Kira.
Or like Varisia, how we also always used to call it Varisia because there was a nearby convention, Orisia, and now we can't say Boston. Right now we have to call
Warlock says the official pronunciation guy is bugging John Compton, but I know that's not true because, and this is true, the official pronunciation for that weird organization of mean Varisians that it was in the Inner Sea, one of the world guides is Sgarni, which honestly doesn't make that much sense given what consonant is there, but is official. And John
Did
Compton
you say? Do you usually say Zarni?
But a lot of people say Zarni.
Yeah.
But it's the official pronunciation is Sgarni, and that's what it says in the book. But John does not pronounce it that way. So therefore, considering Warlock, you cannot always get the official pronunciation by bugging John. And also, John has a lot of work, so don't bug him too much.
Yeah, don't.
So Adam is with us on Kira, but so I'm glad to have Adam on my side because I know that the James. Who has a lot of weight.
I said Kyra,
wait, he says Kira. Wait, we
say
Kyra.
Kyra.
Oh, he said Kira. Okay. Adam and James say Kira, and we say Kyra because Kira is K-I-R-A. I got confused for a moment.
The point is that when you say, "Oh, I don't know how to pronounce this," the answer may be.
Oh, is it Shellen or Shaylin or? Shaylin?
That's a big one for me. I always said Shaylin, and then I heard people say Shellen, and I was like you're shelling some crustaceans, like how?
I'm pretty sure Shellen was in the official pronunciation guide.
I think it is.
The iconics weren't because they weren't in there.
Yeah.
Someone says that it should be pronounced Ka-ira, like with 3 syllables. Ka-ira.
You can pronounce it however you want.
One that threw me off actually really badly was hearing Owen say Nethies.
Oh,
I
instead of
don't
Nephis?
yeah, he was talking to somebody, and I didn't want to interrupt him because he wasn't talking to me, but he said something about Nethies, and I was like, what? Because
Oh.
I've
Yeah, it's
only ever heard
Nephis.
Nethys, and
Adam
clearly,
has it. It's Nephis.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So
I
Rocket
don't
Lettuce
know.
says Nasarion, who's obsessed with Osirion, was too much for it.
Like, always Google all the names we come up with too to make sure they don't it's not like, oh, and this is the name of a famous city, or oh, and this is like something in Urban Dictionary, and we definitely do not want anything that's showing up in Urban Dictionary to be the name of an NPC.
Oh, nope, that's gonna be bad.
Adam points out he was partially responsible for changing that name. After Logan and I went to him and asked him, please, anything else.
My name is Nefarious McEvilus of the Kid Killers tribe.
K-Monarch said.
My middle name is Bad Guy.
Nefarious Bad Guy McEvilus.
Yeah.
I think we can trust him.
That's not the real pronunciation of Iomade. Sheppy says that Nefarious McEvilus is the real pronunciation of Iomade.
Oh, I was like, what? Took me a second to catch up there.
I don't even know. Was it a reference to being blasted with sonic damage in Wrath of the Righteous if you attack her? I don't know.
Nord says, for longest trying my press Chakek.
Akachek. Okay. Well, in our group, the person who had a mantis companion who named it after the god named it Etch-a-Sketch.
So now we kind of call him Etch-a-Sketch in our home group, but not at work.
That's kind of awesome.
You could just call it Ak.
Well, it'll be like the aliens from Monsters or Mars Attacks. You blow them up with music.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Sorry.
That's okay.
This is kind of an old movie.
I've heard some people call Saren Ray Saran Wrap.
Oh, if you play I don't know if you've ever had the chance to play the adventure card game with Ron Lundeen, but he does like all these funny things. And pronouncing stuff, not pronouncing, but like if there's a blessing of Ra, he'll be like Ra-Alleluia.
He's hilarious. He was in the Gauntlet team this year, and he's very fun to play with.
Norburgers for Norgorber.
Norgorber.
I feel like Norgorber is just already a name that sounds like a turkey is gobbling while saying it, and is already a very silly name for a very serious and evil deity.
We'll call him Norgerburger. But it's hard though. You have to come up with all these like imaginary words that sound like they could be a thing, but are also not a thing, and like So as much as we talk about like how it's confusing, and sometimes people might think that some of the names are funny, it's like, well, that's just kind of how it goes, right? You're not always gonna come up with names that everyone. Oh, Katina Warlock says Rava Giggles.
Aww. It sounds adorable.
That reminds me. Yes, exactly. Well, we were talking about Ravagok eating the world, and then Eleanor Farron was sharing in the developer chat the Paragriff's nom nom is like the response. Nom 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 nom.
Oh my god.
Chibi Pantheon, where you've got the Chibi Ravagok that's running away, and the Chibi Sarenrae who's like swinging her scimitar, and the Chibi Asmodeus who's like soaring through the air on a cloud of flame. And
Asmodeus or Asmodeus?
Asmodee Games.
Yeah.
I would love a Chibi Pantheon, by the way. Or
I would
like
love a Chibi Pantheon too.
Chibi, like anything. Chibi Iconics would be amazing.
Chibi
like,
Finder for like all the artists Chibi.
And Elf Taro says Ameko does not work in real Japanese. That's true, but I mean it could. Although I think James pronounces it Amiko, so should be missing the E.
I say Amiko.
But in that case, it should be missing the E, because EI is eh.
Yeah.
The one that really doesn't work is Sui Shen, because you just don't have SHE. It should be like Sui Shin. Or any other consonant before the E except for sh. Oh, because SH is a consonant in Japanese.
You know what I'm surprised
about? But only before an I.
I'm surprised that no one's posted a squirrel yet.
No, but it's not a squirrel. Everybody was, because it's about translation and...
fair point.
And pronunciation.
Alright, you know what that is.
Alright, Nitre says we need Katina on the show more often because it was too fun.
Oh, yeah.
Aww.
No. Okay.
You've been a really great guest, Katina.
Arcane says, since he started the squirrel, he didn't want to post it to indicate his squirrels, so I'm going to post some squirrels.
Good.
Alright.
Jezero
That's
asked, do we even have
awesome.
a subject at this
No,
point?
we don't. We were trying to answer the last question about where she would live in Galarian. The answer was
Oh,
the Isle
yeah.
of Bendigo,
If I have a
and then it got
Bendigo, and the
squirreled into
answer
pronunciation.
and I have a Bendigo got to the complexities of coming up with names in RPGs and the ways we pronounce them differently and the ones that we think is funny.
All right,
It's a
there we
tangent.
go. Chibi, Grumpy, and Reachka art.
You
All right,
found Chibi, Grumpy, and Reachguard. Stunt Monkey,
you need
please,
to link to
share
that
on
before
Discord.
we're up on Discord
or
here before
here
we
is
end.
good too. I want Chibi, Grumpy, and Reachguard.
While you put that on there, let's say goodbye to YouTube. So
Yep.
bye YouTube if you're even still with us for the end of the pronunciation guide. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.